So, hello, Professor Nargunkar. How are you doing today?
Good.
All right. So, we're here to record your very first episode for what was the name?
Chat Masala.
Chat Masala. Isn't it supposed to be like, okay, I'm hungry now. So, how are you going to name it?
It's Chat Masala. The reason is chats can go just like chat. It can have anything from A to Z. It is spicy, it's interesting, and it can go on and on. You might get bored, but I won't.
Great. So, are you promising the rest of your episodes are going to be as interesting as this introduction?
Of course.
All right. So, since we are here for the very first episode, I am super curious to know what are you going to talk about.
We're going to talk about Hindi films mostly.
Okay, great start. And what inspired you to take this topic for the very first episode?
I love Hindi films. People may or may not like them. Not all people do like Hindi films, but I do. And I like them because of 2 or 3 reasons which I'm going to tell you, and then maybe you will get convinced too if you aren't already. Hindi films are unrealistic. That's the greatest thing about them. They are pure fantasy, and that's where we would like to live for 2 to 3 hours when we are watching them. Why go through the same pain that we go through regular life if you can avoid it? That's how most successful Hindi films have become successful, because they take you into a world which you don't find around you. Second thing, they have song and dance. Hindi films, particularly, I'm talking about. So they have songs and dance in almost any situation, including a villain's den, for example. Some of the famous songs have been shot there, and we remember them even till date after many years. Third, I think, is a very important contribution that our vocabulary, Hindi as well as Urdu. I learned most of my big words in Urdu from Hindi films, from watching them regularly over the years. And there's no other way I could have probably picked those up otherwise. So, fourth contribution, I would say, the last one, is that they teach us values. Indian Sanskritic values, which means respect your elders, live within your means, that money is not everything, and such good values. Over the years, it enters your brain and stays there.
Okay, so that's a very different way to look at Hindi films, and I'm guessing this is a genre or category of Hindi films that probably were there in your times, because in our times you'll see most of it having songs like Tera Pyar Pyar Hukka Bar. But I know for sure that the earlier films that were made till probably late 80s were in a very different category altogether. So what's your take on that?
Yeah, I'm all for unrealism, as I told you. So, whatever form that unrealism takes is okay with me. Whether it's this generation or the previous one or the one before that, there were formats which were different. For example, there were singing actors in the original because there was no playback. Technically, we have grown, and I have no quarrels with that. But I think the Hindi film storylines, particularly the 70s and 80s when we were growing up, were very unique, and they had a very, very straightforward, simple, linear, you can call it linear storyline, but it was enhanced with dialogue, with songs, with dance, with lyrics, music, whatever. And you felt like 3 hours of it passed by very quickly. So I'm again repeating this for the benefit of those who didn't get it the first time. I'm a professor. So this is about fantasy and not being realistic. Now, critics might not like this. Critics of Hindi films frequently say that they should be realistic. But where would Tom Cruise be without Mission Impossible, for example? Or Amitabh Bachchan without his fist flying into the jaws of whoever he wants to destroy? So, realism is all good for those who want to probably take rest. I would say in favor of realistic films that they put you to sleep and therefore reduce your stress level. So, that's a good thing. But other than that, who would want realism? Escapism is far better.
What are your top five picks of unrealistic, fun cinema?
Sholay is one for obvious reasons. Everyone knows they've watched it several times for great dialogue, script, acting, outdoor scenery. Even though it's not an original plot, but how does it matter? It was done so well. Golmaal, the comedy, which is somewhat Shakespearean in its. Of course, there is another Shakespearean remake of one of his famous comedies. It's called Angur. That's another favorite. Chupke Chupke is a great comedy. Padosan is another one. So you can make out that I prefer light-hearted films, but also masala films like Amar Akbar Anthony, which makes no sense at all. But it's great fun watching it for 2.5 to 3 hours in a darkened cinema hall. So these are some of my favorites. Of course, many others like Devanand films and so on. Jewel Thief, for example. Great plot. Teesri Manzil with Shammi Kapoor and Asha Parekh, which was great fun.
All right, that was those were quite good films. I think they were legendary for their reasons, and they are, I would say, even today. One last question before we end the episode number one, which, by the way, has been going really well so far. Um, so, so who do you think makes similar unrealistic cinema other than Bollywood or Indian cinema?
Well, unrealistic films almost everybody makes. For example, Hollywood makes Superman and super character films all the time. They are very, very unrealistic, though many of them are interesting and have great following. But if you really want realistic cinema, I would leave it to the Iranians. They do a pretty good job of it.
Wow, that's very well put, I would say. By the way, I have a lot of questions more that I have in my mind because we've not yet touched on a very, very crucial aspect of your favorite actors or actresses. So, how about we take one more episode and then I ask you these questions?
Sure.
All right. So, any message for people out there listening to your very first episode? What are they looking forward to in Chaat Masala? Let's say in the upcoming 5 episodes, and why should we be glued to Chat Masala?
A chat, as I said, consists of anything and everything. So the masala will come from all directions. So I suggest you start watching and keep watching.
All right. Thank you. See you soon.